Prince Harry is an absolute brat, just like his wife. In fact, Prince Harry torpedoed his entire sort of quote unquote goodwill tour to the UK last week in one single, and I'm sorry to say it, stupid interview with The Guardian, where he claims he has no regrets about what he said about his family, that he was not somehow airing his dirty laundry in Spare, and that he feels good about himself. Okay. So you made your grandmother's last couple months and years of misery, your grandfather, you made your father's life a misery, but no. No regrets at all. Apparently, it's all hunky dory for Harry, and he's happy. He has to tell us how happy he is yet again in his life. But I believe to the contrary, in my personal opinion. And yes, Prince Harry, you are absolutely stubborn because that's going to rankle him. Like when you have an antagonistic relationship with the media, it's probably not the best idea to tell them what annoys you most about what they say about you because boy, oh boy, will more people be using it. Bravo. Where in the world is Harry's PR team? That is what I want to know in this train wreck Guardian interview. Oh my gosh, where is his PR team? Where is the common sense in this man? He is deluded, he is arrogant, and of course, very, very stubborn and deluded too. We have to add deluded. So we are going to go into all of this. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary, so please hit that subscribe button. I'd absolutely love to have you back. And we did a giveaway last month with Ana Lucia Diamonds, and I will be working on finding out the winner to that tomorrow. Of course, the contest has already ended, but we got to go through and get everything calculated. But I did want to shout out here my lovely twisted hoop gold earrings in case you're interested. Use code ROYAL20 to save 20%. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. And also, we will be doing a live stream Tuesday morning, in addition to the Crown Report that afternoon at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Norwegian royal train wreck of Royal Rebels on Netflix, or Rebel Royals. Oh my gosh, guys, this is going to be the cringiest, wildest thing you've ever seen. I can guarantee you that. And of course, the big question is, does Norway survive Martha Louise and Marius? I'm not sure if they do. So if you guys want to set your alarm clocks for that, I'd love to have you join us. If not, of course, you can rewatch it on the live stream. We'll be doing more about that loveliness of the princess who talks to angels and her creepy shaman husband. In my personal opinion, I find him creepy. That's just what I'm going to tell you. So if you guys want to check that out, again, click that subscribe button and keep a lookout on your calendars, because that is going to be the thing to watch. But oh my gosh, The Guardian and Harry. This is bad. Like, this is so incredibly bad. Like, it portrays him as this weird, like, pseudo folk hero to Ukraine just because of the Invictus Games. And I'm like, well, that's cute, but you can't do anything for them beyond the games. Like, Harry has no political power. He has no political influence. He has nothing to offer the Ukrainian people in this conflict. You seem to get the sense from the dude that he thinks he's super important going to Ukraine. Now, I can't, of course, deny the feelings of the Ukrainian people. If you guys want to lift him up, that's your prerogative. But Harry is not a real royal anymore. And he was attempting to reconcile with his father. And if I was Charles, I would read this interview going, oh my gosh, this kid has not learned a single thing in 5 years. You can't have a relationship with Harry at this point, given the delusions he lives in. I'm sorry, but if you don't think that writing a tell-all book, going over all your family's dirty laundry is somehow not doing dirty laundry in public, I don't understand. But there's something truly terrifying about Harry in a way, because he is a true believer, because he says a lot, well, I was just correcting. I'm just giving you the truth. I'm just giving you my side. Well, Harry, your side might not be the truth. In fact, usually the truth is in the middle between two stories. And some of his stories and some of Meghan's stories have no basis in reality. They're lies, in my personal opinion, especially the one about Archie not getting a title because of the color of his skin. That was not the case at all. He did not get a title at the time of his birth because he wasn't entitled to one. He was the great-grandson of the monarch and not the son of the future Prince of Wales. Only William's children were automatically entitled to prince and princess status, and they did have to make amends to make sure that happened because they will be the children of the king. Your children will not. Just to put that out there again to correct the record, because Harry and Meghan claim to be the ones giving truth. And again, there's something really scary, I would say, in some ways, about Harry's level of delusion and how much I feel like he's still relying on Meghan Markle to push themselves forward, or just relying on her to be like the arbiter of what he should be doing. And that's just not a bright move, because she is certainly failing. And he, in this interview, he did himself zero favors. It's so bad. But let's go ahead and get into it. So we won't read all of this because some of it's just like weirdly rah rah Harry. But he's given his side. I feel like they chose a particularly bad picture on purpose. This is not the greatest picture. And you just feel like a guy who's really adrift and constantly trying to tell you while the ship is sinking, oh, we're fine. The ship is not sinking. That water you're sensing right there, that water you're feeling, it's just a figment of your imagination. Just keep standing here. We'll all be fine. Harry, the ship is sinking and you're the captain here. You got to kind of adjust. But this is just insane. And it starts with, my conscience is clear. And if it is, I mean, I'd like, then you're a horrible, terrible person, Harry. There is no other way to read that, but you are an awful human being in some ways. To not acknowledge the pain you've caused others in your relentless pursuit of revenge. He says it's not revenge. He's correcting the record. No, it was revenge. And Harry is missing something so incredibly critical that when you clock it, I'm going to say this again, you cannot trust Harry. He's still in the throes of the cult of Meghan, and you cannot reason with crazy. So let's get in, kind of gives some background. They're doing a secret trip to Kyiv, and oh, look, Harry's got his Invictus jacket on, yada, yada, yada. And talking about how important and well-known it's become in Ukraine. And if the Ukrainians love it, hey, more power to you. But Harry is just a figurehead. And sure, maybe he helps you a little bit, but this guy can do zero in terms of the conflict. Like, absolutely nothing. Like, even if he met with President Vladimir Zelensky, he can do literally nothing. So, says over here, because we're mostly going to focus on the Harry quotes. Says, over the next 36 hours, we learn a lot, big and small, about this complex, conflicted man. So I think I like how they said complex and conflicted, because what you get here is a sense of Harry trying to prove that he's happy, he's satisfied, he's fulfilled, that everything's great, everything's fine, hunky-dory, I'm fine. But then they say he's complex and conflicted. The conflicted aspect to me personally, because Harry, yes, we're allowed to have an opinion in the media about you. You cannot dictate everything and have us repeat it verbatim, like we're all your little automatons there to do your will. But that he has these two sides constantly battling. What he needs to do with Meghan to keep her happy and what he needs to do to keep himself happy. And those are actually in conflict. And he can't sort of rationalize himself out of the box he's put himself in, which is that he wants to be royal, but his wife doesn't want to be royal. He needs to make money, but he can't really make money. His wife wants to be a billionaire. He can't make that happen. Like, all these things are conflicting. And he's complex, I think, in the vein that he can't deal with reality anymore. Again, you get the sense of the guy who's living in the asylum, to be quite honest. And it's not a particularly attractive look. And anyone on the outside who's supposed to sort of go along with Harry here, I'm sorry, but this is a turnoff. This is going to turn a lot of people off who you may have, let's say, pulled into your orbit a bit. They're going to be turned off by this. He says he doesn't like posing for stage photographs and doesn't like cycling. I have a bony butt. Thanks, Harry. We needed to know that, apparently. He likes to box to relieve his frustration. Hitting the hell out of the bag, he says, helps him to decompress. Sounds like a bit of a conflicted guy, angry guy, which he claims to not be. It's sort of funny. And he chose a publication, you got to say, that has long been critical of the monarchy. So if you're thinking, again, This dude who wants to make inroads to the monarchy chooses the publications that's not in favor of the monarchy. Like, I don't know who is advising him, but like, I almost feel like everybody wants him to fail and he's just too deluded to realize that. But of course, he says some incredibly dumb things too. So in private, he is very informal, patting around in his socks on the train to and from Kiev and making dad jokes. Oh my gosh. In public, he has a confident voice and an easy charm with strangers, but on his own, he is softly spoken and asks questions about people and about politics. He has views. That's a little terrifying. And I like how they don't tell you what his views are because they're probably like, okay, okay. Yeah. He's not particularly bright. And that is I'm not actually saying that to be mean. That is generally the consensus of most people. He is not, he says, the unhappy man some of the press like to portray him as. But yes, he wants to spend more time in the UK. Okay, if you look like an unhappy man, a lot of the times you probably are an unhappy man. You probably are. You can't hide it. You're a terrible actor, Harry. You're even worse than your wife, and she's awful. Like, and he wants to spend more time in the UK. Well, it's hard to see that. Like, I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? And is asked, does he regret putting his side of the story out in the public in the way he has? No, he doesn't. My conscience is clear. If your conscience is clear, Harry, I'm going to argue here that you don't have a very good conscience, buddy. If you're leaning on the conscience of Meghan Markle, I would look elsewhere because your conscience shouldn't be clear. You didn't do the right thing. You did a terrible, horrible thing in many ways. And it looks like I call it almost blood money because what he did is sold out his family to the river to make money. You cannot, if Harry didn't take a dime from the publication, you can maybe argue that he was just trying to get his story out there and he didn't really care about reaping the rewards from it. But no, you made probably $10-20 million off your book. So it's blood money. You smeared your family to make money. It's disgusting, to be quite honest. And it proves that's the only thing you can do. And you're trying to get back this royal thing, thinking you can fix things. And again, you walk 2 steps forward and then you shoot yourself in the foot and you fall backwards. Like that. He didn't have to do any of this. He needs to be better trained in media because he sucks at it. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be truthful here. He talks a little about his mother, Diana, and his father, too. If Invictus is his professional priority, well, it shouldn't be. It's not a job. He's a figurehead. He's not supposedly making any money from this. So he needs to get a real big boy job. This is not a real big boy job. This is a job you do when you have another job and you can come walk around every once in a while and support it. You need a real job, Harry. It seems clear his father is a personal one. What about his family, like his immediate family? Again, you're all over the place. He's all over the place here. And if his father is the personal one, does that mean things aren't going well necessarily at home? Because all of a sudden now he cares. Like, what happened to the last 5 years, Harry? All of a sudden you care now. Why now? Again, there are ways to convey this message that might work well in the media. This is not it. And this is not the way to get people on your side. This is a very stupid way to get people on your side. And it's going to alienate your father yet again because you cannot shut your trap. That is part of your problem. It says, but all that comes out on the way back to the UK. What is happening in Ukraine is his immediate concern, and for good reason. Talks about the injuries and everything, and he's going to visit, some of the memorials or whatever. And again, it's sweet that Ukraine loves the Invictus Games, whatever, but this dude can't help you. Like, he can't do anything about the conflict. Like, why? I just don't understand. Said sports recovery and rehabilitation did not exist in Ukraine before Invictus. Ruslan says, now we're creating a whole new system of different kinds of training and preparing teams in all kinds of sport. So only though a handful of these competitors can go out. And Harry really does think that everyone wants Invictus. I just don't always think that's the case. It might work well, and it plays well in Ukraine right now because there is conflict going around. But unfortunately, Ukraine is not going to be what floats the Invictus Games in the future. It's just not. apparatus or a game, a system that requires massive infusions of taxpayer dollars to actually function. If that is how it functions, then I would argue that it's not functioning very well. Nobody should be required in their taxpayer dollars to fund this because it should be funded by the competition itself. If the competition itself can't fund itself, it has a problem because it doesn't attract an audience. Like there were rumors last time that the Canadian games would be like broadcasted, and they weren't, as far as I'm aware. If there's somebody in Canada who saw them, let me know. But I doubt they don't get a big audience. And so this idea that there should be tons of money, because the Olympics, you can argue all the money that is spent by the city or the country or whatever hosting the Olympics is sort of recouped because at the end of the day, the competition should bring in lots of money, revenue from broadcasting, revenue from hotels and facility usage, and all these sorts of things should all go back into the city. Now, sometimes people have overblown their budgets and that just doesn't happen, but that in theory is how this should work. This thing is never going to recoup any money for anybody putting it on. And that's not to say that it shouldn't happen, but I'm just saying that if this organization cannot actually support itself going to different cities and putting on games without massive infusions, like I'm talking, there was at least $30+ million in Canada that went into the games. The UK is probably going to have to put 30 million pounds into the games to put them on, unless they're attracting a large slew of people. I mean, it's basically just a PR stunt for Harry and for the countries attending. And that's it. So Harry's popularity among the Ukrainians is clear. The injured want to talk to him. The mothers and fathers of the wounded and dead want to shake his hand or hug him. He is cheered and clapped at every turn, as are his colleagues. Okay, but again, can't do anything about the war. She just can't. It says it's amazing. We never expect to see this level of recognition, Olga says. Ordinary people know who he is. Yeah, because his family's famous. We honestly didn't know he had become such a celebrity. He's always been a celebrity. I think Prince Harry coming here is a symbol of victory and power. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not meaning to disparage the Ukrainian people and their conflict at all. But victory and power over what? The injured? Sure. But like this is a bigger military apparatus going on, and Harry can't do anything for you there. He literally cannot stop this war. He cannot get these like countries together to negotiate. That's like Donald Trump. That's Keir Starmer. That's like actual people with actual power, not this guy. So, I mean, again, if he's uplifting you guys, bravo. But like in the grander scheme of things, don't like you're hyping him up as if he's some sort of like, I want to say cult figure or something. And he, I guess, is, but to you, but not really in this conflict. People look at him and his military experience. He's hung out in a bunker for Pete's sakes. And they see he is not afraid to come to Ukraine. It is so important that he came. Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, also went to Ukraine. Not everybody can go to Ukraine because he's not constitutionally relevant anymore. He can go to Ukraine. He's doing his own thing because he's not attached to anything and he has no power to do anything. For this and other causes he's passionate about, Harry accepts his front and center role and does it willingly. Encouraging those who have been seriously injured to find purpose outside the military is one of the messages. I would say that I have been fortunate. He says, yeah, he was stuck in a bunker with gunko Nepalese soldiers guarding him the entire time. Like he rarely got out, is my understanding. The one thing that people miss when they hang up their uniform is purpose. Yeah, we feel it from you, Harry, for sure. Losing a sense of community and being part of a team. And of course, the camaraderie and adrenaline. But at the heart of it is your job, your role is serving a purpose larger than yourself. So, for argument's sake, I would say this kind of focus, yes, you can do that with part of Invictus, but really your heart, which was in your job and your role serving a larger purpose, should be that with of being within your family in a lot of ways. It's not just the Invictus. It should be part of a church or a like something deeper than just a sports competition. Yes, sports can help 150%. That's not what I'm saying. But true purpose in life goes beyond sports. Everybody, and then this is actually interesting that I've noticed in like cult documentaries and stuff. What lures people in is the feeling of real purpose in life. People want something deeper. And The thing I've noticed about Invictus, in my personal opinion, is that I feel like people go and they get a high from the event, and then they go back to their hometown and, like, everything's the same. They have this really big high, and then everything's back to normal again. And I don't know if it's necessarily really truly all that helpful in some ways, is to just be looking for the high you get at the event rather than finding greater purpose in your life. And especially, I feel like spiritual purpose and focus would be much more beneficial than a sports competition. Competition can be good for, getting you kind of re-engaged physically and those sorts of things, but and it helps somewhat mentally, but spiritually, this is not going to help in the long run. It's going to be a short-term high without long-term gain. Says his work for Invictus, he says, has given him that after his military career. It saved me. Okay, so it saved him, but he really should be putting the focus on other people. That seems really weird that it saved me. Like, how? And this again is part of the problem because I feel like Harry is almost inflating his military service to feel competitive with the men he's helping, the men and women. Because to me, in my personal opinion, Harry is overly focused on this to such an point that it's become an obsession rather than something that he does. It's an obsession to him. So we're hanging out, getting a conversation, changing attitudes across society about disabled people is another message. Okay, then why didn't you focus on the father in South Korea in your documentary, Prince Harry, which I watched, Heart of Invictus, which was boring, dull, and bloated? Why don't you focus on the man in South Korea who had the most fascinating story, which is a culture which feels shame when it comes to disabilities? And he had lost his hands in an accident in training. And so, why didn't you focus more on him and how you needed to help and how Invictus was helping change the attitudes for this man and his daughter in South Korea? That was the story that Harry barely brushed over in that documentary. That was a truly interesting story to me because it's like, oh, you have an actual real problem. Instead, they focused on the guy from Canada, partially, who just had a lot of mental health issues before he even joined Invictus, like addiction issues and those sorts of things. And I think he admitted later to being addicted while he was at Invictus or something. I was like, focus on this father who was having to refigure out and how to give his daughter the sense of pride in her father because in their culture, his disability and his injuries would be considered shameful. Like, that's interesting. And of course, he left it out. He says, seeing people with prosthetics and life changing injuries is going to be the norm in Ukraine for the coming decades. That is definitely very true. Nobody should feel embarrassed or ashamed about their disabilities. It's about flipping from sympathy to admiration and respect, such as the need for men and women to fight in the war. Some of the wounded even have ended up back in the military. A lot of the participants in the Invictus Games go back to active service. Ukraine has become our key strategic priority because of the need there is here. So this is the Invictus Games Foundation Chief Growth Officer Helen saying that. So it does make sense that Ukraine is their biggest outreach because it's the country that is engaged in actual combat right now. But again, like, that's great that you want to help the people of Ukraine, but you have to be able to put on these games without getting taxpayer dollars. If Ukraine can't put on these games, that's a problem. It says later in the day, the team stop in Maiden Square in the heart of Kyiv, where an unofficial memorial to the dead has sprung up. It is a moving and ever-flowing field of photos in the dead, flags, messages, and flowers. Harry wanted to lay a wreath. But as crowds grow around him, he steps into the thick of the memorial to be on his own. I wanted to find a spot to lay the wreath in peace away from everyone. He's like Jesus here, guys. He is like the just benevolent prince coming to help support the people of Ukraine. My God, it's like amazing here. I didn't appreciate how far it went back. Honestly, it is one of the saddest things I've ever seen, but also one of the most beautiful. Was it also beautiful when you traipse through one of our cemeteries, Prince Harry, for our deceased veterans, so you could plant a wreath for press attention? Yeah, that was lovely, wasn't it? Great guy here. The war he suggests could and should have been avoided is also unnecessary. Well, you can't do anything about that. We all know that. Everybody pretty much in the situation knows that. But, people in conflicts, they're a little different. After this visit, the prince disappears. Oh, his car heads off from the convoy for about an hour. And when he returns to the group, he is coy and tight-lipped. The suspicion is that he has gone to meet Vladimir Zelensky, but neither he nor the president want to admit it. Yeah, because Zelensky knows Harry can't do anything for him. And he doesn't want to take off the people who actually can and who are actually supporting this war effort. Or he's just a figurehead of an organization. Like, that's it. Zelensky is a champion of the Invictus Games and has made it known he wanted to meet the prince. The British government had made it known to Zelensky it would rather he did not. That was the chit-chat in diplomatic circles, at least. The theory was that giving the rebel royal platform might not be smart politics on a day when Britain's new foreign secretary, Yvette Cooper, was also in town. But only one Britain is making headlines in Ukraine on Friday. Yeah, but headlines doesn't mean anything. Harry and Meghan make headlines all the time. What we have seen endlessly, I've talked about this and said this, they generate noise. It does not actually convert. It doesn't have a real impact. Yvette can make a real impact. She has actual power and influence in this situation. Prince Harry cannot. He can shake hands. He can be jolly. He can do whatever he wants with Zelensky. Doesn't matter at the end of the day, really. Even if Harry is generating headlines, she's the only one who matters. That's just life. He can do whatever the heck he wants, but he's not going to change any of this. And this is where it gets fun. He says, I'm very happy with who I am and the life that I live. I'm going to say, if you have to say that, then it's probably not going too well for you. The trip to Kyiv comes at the end of the very busy week. From Monday to Thursday, he was in the UK undertaking a series of events related to the causes he supports. He also met with his father, King Charles, for the first time since February 2024 on an overnight train ride back to Poland. Harry says he thinks the whole week has gone well and feels hopeful about the future. Yeah, and you just torpedoed it. You just torpedoed it with this because you can't keep your trap shut and you won't listen to your PR team. Or you browbeaten your PR team into submission, and so they allow you to say stupid stuff. I mean, this is just so... The dude has an image problem. You want to address the image problem, but he just reiterates why the image problem exists in the first place. Like, you're just reminded of it here, and that he has not learned anything. Says during the trip, some elements of the tabloid press have published stories that left his team with their heads in their hands. I'm sorry, guys. The world does not revolve around Prince Harry's PR team. The media can say whatever the heck they want. If you can't deal with that, get out of public life. I have people who say things about me quite a bit and disparage me. You have to deal with it. That's reality. A lot of it's wrong, but I can't do anything about it. In some cases, you can't reason with crazy. In other cases, people just want to believe what they want to believe, and they just want to go down a different path. I can't change that. I can just do what I'm doing and showing the world what I believe in my channel. I do a lot of commentary. I do news. I can share with you those things, and then you as the public, the more you get to know me, the more aware you are of what the people are saying is false. That is how you deal with this. You will never get your way if you're constantly looking for your PR to go exactly your way all the time. You're going to be miserable. This is just not achievable. This is bare bones basic stuff at this point, and Harry needs to let it go. You're never going to get what you want. Again, if you want the perfect news coverage that you want all the time, then go live in Siberia, buy a town, live there by yourself, own the newspaper, and then you can print exactly what you want all the time, every day, verbatim. Nobody is going to care. But if you are in the public spotlight at any level, big or small, yeah, people are going to have an opinion, and some of it's probably going to be not what you like, and you're just going to have to lump it. That is reality. It just annoys the heck out of me. How do you not know this at this point? How does Harry not know this? I don't understand. They're never going to print exactly what you want. They don't print what Catherine and William want all the time. And that is a good thing. You need to have freedom of the press. The press is not always going to agree. They're going to disagree. They're going to write stories that you don't want. That's life. Get over it. Life's tough. Get a helmet. Move on. Goes on to say, it appears to make Harry more certain of the need to take on the papers who he says have unfairly targeted him and his family. Well, you opened the floodgates, you nincompoop. You're the one who wrote all this stuff. You're the one who went on Oprah. You opened the floodgates. And guess what, Harry? People don't like you. And when people don't like you, negative stories about you sell. That's just reality. You have set this up. You could have done things differently and you didn't. And this is the consequence. Don't go after the media. You're the problem. You have always been the problem. If you had just done the normal thing Catherine and William did, which is just be quiet, continue your work, things will change around. But the more you poke the media, the more the media is going to poke back. Has poking the media ever, at the end of the day, helped you at all? The answer is no. You need to give this up. The prince, along with Doreen Lawrence and Elton John, among others, is suing the Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Mail and the Mail on Sunday. The trial is due to start in January. Good luck with that. You might win, you might lose, won't change a thing. Yes, I've enjoyed the week, Harry says. I've always loved the UK. It's hard to tell, bud. And I will always love the UK. It's hard to tell. It's been good to reconnect with the causes I'm passionate about. It's about the friends. I have been able to spend some time with people that I have known for so long. It's hard to do it from far away. Well, that was your choice, buddy. That was your choice. He adds, it's only in certain elements of the press where you see this talk about me being down or saying I'm not smiling. This comes from people who think they know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. They are wrong. Okay. Regardless, when you say that, you are so conscientious of it. It makes me think, number one, it's true that you are not happy in certain instances, or that you are so incredibly sensitive, you want to push against everything. You just cannot let things go. And this, again, is not going to help you. I think parts of the British press want to believe that I am miserable, but I'm not. I'm very happy with who I am and the life that I live. You don't need to say that. If you need to say that, I believe, number one, that you are unhappy, very unhappy, and you don't like who you are and you don't like your life. People who need to say something as obvious as this usually are pretty miserable. You almost have to say it because you can't live it or have people actually don't see that being acted out. And so you have to say it because people don't believe it. It's never a good sign. If he hasn't always seemed cheerful, then it's hardly surprising given what he has been going through, he says. What he has been going through. I've certainly had to deal with some very stressful events over the last 4 years. They were all self-inflicted. Nobody told you to do Oprah. Nobody told you to write a book. Nobody told you to do a reality TV show. I mean, they did call you grifters. They did call you basically stupid. Like the head of Spotify basically called Harry stupid. He just said this guy is so dumb, he can't come up with a podcast idea. That is all self-inflicted. I didn't do any of that. You didn't do any of that. He did that to himself. I don't have any sympathy for you because this is your problem you created for you. There has been the uncertainty and stress of the litigation and finding out certain things that have really, really hurt. Aw, poor baby. Your feelings are hurt. That's so sad. You know, when you have to say your feelings are hurt, you're too emotionally attached. Your feelings can be hurt. Of course, I've experienced it. But to live a somewhat public life at any level, you have to be able to divide up aspects of your life. And you have to be able to ignore certain things. Realize things aren't going to go and be said the way you want to all the time. Period. Exclamation point. End of sentence. That is what it is. But he believes there is a disconnect between what is written about him by some commentators and what most other people think. Okay, he believes. They're saying he believes because you're deluded, Harry. You want to believe something that's just simply not true. The polls prove it every time. You're one of the least popular members of the royal family now. That's your problem. I feel a lot of support from the British public, like the 50 people who showed up at one event. Sure. Even now, when I feel like I have been destroyed by certain members of the British press, he's so still sensitive, guys. He is so incredibly sensitive. It serves them to think that the British public feels the same way about me as they do. They do. Harry, I haven't met anybody who really likes you. Honestly. But I don't feel that, and I don't see that. For as long as I've known, certain elements of the British press have tried to speak on behalf of the nation. I think they are out of touch with the nation on a lot of things. You don't live there. You nincompoop. You don't even live there anymore. I've spent more time in the UK in the last couple of years than you have. What are you talking about? Oh my gosh. They hope to bring the public with them, but I think the British public can speak and think for themselves. You might not like that, Harry. You might not like it. Again, Harry and reality don't mix too well. Would he like to spend more time in the UK to bring his children one day, despite the issues over his security arrangements? Yes, I would. This week has definitely brought that closer. Just bring them, Harry. The only one preventing them is you. The only one preventing your kids from seeing their grandfather is you. Harry won't talk about his father, but he seems to want and need to see his father more often. Over the coming year, he says, the focus really has to be on my dad. So he's implying here that his dad is dying, basically. So much for Harry pulling back. He's basically saying his dad is dying and that he needs to spend more time with his dad and see his dad more often. Like, come on. Harry mentions his wife, Meghan, only once by name. A reference, oh, he doesn't call her M? I thought they were H and M. A reference to something she told him about how telling the truth is the most efficient way to live. Well, it helps if you can actually tell the truth. You two lie through your teeth, especially her, all the time. If he thinks she's telling him the truth about a lot of things, no wonder he's so confused because half the time, in my personal opinion, from what I've observed, I think she's lying a lot. She lies, she just rolls it off. Like she just lies as if there's nothing wrong. Like it's amazing to watch. And I'm like, I'm listening to something going, that doesn't make any sense. And the reality is they live their life so publicly, you can't lie that much. Meghan used to lie, I think, and embellish quite a bit. I mean, I should say both lie and embellish. I think she lies and she also embellishes quite a bit, especially the success of her company. Goes on to say, she said, just stick to the truth. Meghan should try that. It is the thing I always fall back on. Always. Well, no wonder you're floundering, buddy. When you don't know what the truth is, and you're thinking you have the truth and it's not the truth, well, no wonder you're up a creek without a paddle. This is not that hard. And if you think like that, who would be stupid enough to lie? It takes up too much time and effort. Yeah, I know. I've watched you and your wife do it over the last couple of years. It's been entertaining to watch you say things that are like complete lies and then like be shocked that people call you out on it. Again, Meghan Markle on Oprah Winfrey going, oh, they didn't give Archie a title because or security because of his skin tone. No, he's constitutionally irrelevant. That is just a reality. And he was only entitled to be the son of a duke when he was born because his son will not be king. Harry will not be king. Your family is not the same as the Waleses. This is just like bare bones basic stuff in royalty. And even like in Spare, he wrote something about like how he and his family, like he never got to bike ride as a family. And then people pulled out a literal picture of him riding a bike with his entire family. The thing is, Harry, I don't think knows what the truth is anymore. He doesn't know what the truth is. And it's like somebody in a cult saying, well, I know the truth and telling you it. And you're like, that's not truth. But that's the truth in their reality. Like he sounds again like he's cloistered in some sort of cult and he's repeating the party lines and he just doesn't really know. Again, this is all my opinion. Which brings him to the very public things he has said about his life, the interviews, the TV series, the book he wrote, Spare. I know that speaking out annoys some people and it goes against the narrative. It's not the narrative, Harry. But let's keep going. The book, it was a series of corrections to stories already out there. One point of view had been put out and it needed to be corrected. Oh my gosh, Harry, what did we do without you correcting us about the truth? Oh my gosh. Well, some stories were never out there, like you having an alleged physical altercation with your brother where you slipped and fell in a dog bowl and you cried about it because your necklace broke. Yeah, that is not a story that was out there. You put that out there. You put a bunch of stuff out there that was never out there. I didn't need to know when you lost your virginity and where you lost it. I didn't need to know who you lost it to. I didn't need to know that. Nobody wanted to know that. Nobody cared. And yet, you needed to put it out there. And he goes, I don't believe that I aired my dirty laundry in public. You did. You 100% did. Absolutely. Gazillion trillion percent. We didn't need to know about your frostbitten penis either. Nobody wanted to know that. Nobody ever freaking wanted to know that ever, Harry. It was a difficult message, but I did it in the best way possible. My conscience is clear. Sure, if that helps you sleep at night, which I'm sure it doesn't, which is why you're miserable, why you're mad, why you're angry, why you're bitter, why you're doing this stupid interview is because you're still angry. It comes across here. I'm correcting. I'm giving the truth. My conscience is clear. I'm happy. This does not come across well. And I feel like the Guardian person knows this. They're subtly, again, calling him a complex and conflicted man. That is not a good description of you. Complex is good, conflicted is not. Complex, and let's say, I don't even know if I'd want somebody to call me complex, really. I mean, we're all complex in the way that every human being is idiosyncratic, but I want people to call me intelligent and maybe engaging or intelligent and thought provoking or something. I don't know. I just like, I would not want that to be the description of me. Just saying. Being called stubborn slightly rankles him. It's not stubbornness, it's having principles. Sure, Harry. And by the way, we will all call you stubborn for the rest of your life now. You don't do something this stupid in an interview. Like, the media doesn't like you, and now you've told them and given them a word to annoy you by. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? He does not want to prolong any legal battles, but yet he is. He does not ever expect to get positive coverage from some quarters. A ceasefire, perhaps, is the best he can hope for. You will never get always positive coverage, buddy. You've ensured that. You've ticked people off. People don't like you. Negativity about you sells. Like, it's not about revenge. It is about accountability. Beware this man. He's crazy, in my personal opinion. Again, I have to say that for legal reasons, because again, he wants to sue me for having an opinion about him. You're not allowed to have an opinion about Harry that he doesn't agree with. Well, I'm sorry, Harry. If you can't handle that, get out of public life. Get out of it. Go live quietly on a ranch in Montana. I'm sure you could take that $13 million or whatever you have in that house, sell it, make it back, go buy a ranch in the middle of nowhere, self-publish your own paper, and everybody will be happy. Nobody says you have to live this public life but you. You're the one who's living this public life. You're the one who left. You're the one who left badly. You're the one who wrecked everything. Don't get mad at us for reporting on it. Nor does he want to prolong any divisions with his family. Well, good luck with that, because you just did this. But in life, he says you cannot have reconciliation before you have the truth. But it's your version of the truth. It's not the objective truth. He has to live in self-imposed delusions because that's the only way he can function. It's the only way he can function. Harry, who turns 41 on Monday, appears a bit bemused by his popularity in Ukraine, because I'm sure he didn't experience it much at home. By the end of the visit, he has so many bags of presents to take home, including a dagger hidden inside an ornate walking stick. They take up most of the free space in the back of the private jet that returns him to the UK. Okay, so that was expensive. He puts it down to the fact that he has served 10 years in the army. In a bunker, for Pete's sakes. You had 2 little tours. You hardly saw combat. Give me a break. And the way Ukrainians have adopted the ideas of the Invictus Foundation. He is told that Radiva thought that part of the reason people liked him was because he is quite Ukrainian in his attitude to life. He does his own thing in his own way. You know who else did that? My mom. Oh my gosh, Sherry, why are you constantly dragging up your dead mother to justify yourself? Like, it's disgusting. Please stop it. That is the crazy ramblings of a guy who's still a bit unhinged with reality. And the video might come across as somewhat harsh, but at the same time, these discussions have been going on for years at this point. Harry had a chance to correct the narrative. He did. He honestly did. And then he just torpedoes it. Who on his PR team thought this was a good idea? He should sack them all. This was a bad idea. He needs to stop talking to the press because he constantly sounds like a whiny brat who can't accept the fact that people don't love him as much as he loves himself and as Meghan loves herself. Like, it's not going to happen, buddy. And you will be so much happier if you accept the fact that you cannot control other people and that you just need to accept the fact that people don't like you. That's what I have to do on here. Again, my platform is so much smaller. But yeah, people are not always kind. And you just have to let it roll off your back and move on. That's the only way you can function. I'll tell anybody who wants to start any sort of YouTube channel. If you can't handle people not liking you, you will be miserable. Don't start a YouTube channel. If you take every barb personally, don't start a YouTube channel. Because regardless of how good you think something is, regardless how well you've treated a certain subject or whatever, Nobody will ever be happy. I still never have, usually except for members only videos, a 100% like ratio. Why? Because you will always have those handful of people, even if it's less than 1%, who just don't like you. You just have to let it go. But this is a man who's miserable, in my opinion. I'm going to say it, Harry. You keep saying you're not, but every time you do these interviews, all I can think of is that you're miserable and you're hoping people don't see your misery. And if you tell us 20 times how happy you are, you'll finally maybe be happy. But he has proven with his own words that it's not going to happen. He's still angry the press doesn't do exactly what he wants when he wants it. He's still angry that his family is not accepting him in the way he wants. He's still angry that his government hasn't given him his security. He's still angry. He's still bitter and he's still very, very stubborn. And when you factor in all those things together, the only thing I can think of is that Prince Harry is an absolute brat who has learned nothing over the last 5 years. And when given one opportunity to really try to change the narrative, he self destructs almost immediately. Great going, Harry. Unbelievably stupid. You should fire your PR team, in my humble opinion, because this was a massive, massive error in judgment. Or you need to figure out how to do an interview where you don't stick your foot in your mouth. Just my 2 cents, just my very, very humble opinion. But you guys let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. And I shall speak to you again very, very soon. Bye.